Good evening to one and all present here. It's very good to have you all for the Tête-à-tea session this evening organized by the Prabha Khaitan Foundation. I, Apra Kuchal, welcome you to this session, which is one of the cultural initiatives undertaken by Prabha Khaitan Foundation that is organized on the YouTube page of Kahalli. Cultural development is the watchword of Prabha Khaitan Foundation, a foundation which was established by an eminent literature and cultural enthusiast, late Dr. Prabha Khaitan, back in the 1980s. PKF has the best literary and art and culture initiatives and projects that aim to create cultural capital on the global map. The foundation enjoys pan India and overseas presence through its various physical and virtual events organized in close association with patron Sri Cements Limited, distinguished associates, partners, collaborators, and our SRs Women of India. Tête-à-tea is an engaging cultural initiative of PKF that brews up conversation over for a cup of tea or coffee. It is a freewheeling chat where notable personalities, like today we have Vinita with us, uh, to share some insights on a particular topic and enlightening the audience with their experiences. We are very grateful to Ms. Advaita Kala for creating the Kahalli platform and connecting our esteemed audience with eminent personalities from various walks of life on her online platform. Thank you, Advaita. Today, we have with us Vinita Nangia. Vinita, we all know she's the executive editor of E-Times, author, and a columnist with the Times of India. She specializes in journalism and is an expert when writing or talking about life and social issues. Her popular weekly column featured in the Times of India features and focuses on contemporary living and relationships. She has authored 5 books. We all love what Vinita writes and her takes on life, relationships, complex situations, and I think many of us wait for her columns. Most welcome, Vinita. Thank you for having everyone enjoy and continuing with their kind of conversations here. We are very thrilled to have you. Over to you, Adwaita.
So basically, I'm thrilled to have you here. You know that, of course. I've known you for years. I've read you for even longer than before I've known you. And back in the day, Vinita, and of course, we're going to talk about your journey as well. I want you to discuss that with our audience. But I remember back in the day when the fashion shows had just hit India and the Lakme Fashion Weeks and all of these in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, there was an explosion. The buzz was that a fashion show would not start till you came in and sat down. And we're talking about the biggest fashion shows
Yeah.
in the country. Like the designer used to say, is Vinita Nangia here yet? Okay, she's not here. Okay, hang on. Let her come. And then once you came in and sat down was when the show used to start. Fact or
Yeah.
fiction? Myth.
Fact, yes, fact as I believe it, as I've been told. But I would really say not so much because of me as because of, it was those were the times when very few people and very few media organizations used to really cover fashion shows. So they had to be covered. If they are having a fashion show and spending so much money on it, they have to be covered. So they used to wait for the person covering it to come in and then start the show. Yes, I've actually heard somebody saying, she's come, let's start," which was like, it could have gone to my head totally.
I
I
was just
tried
going
to
to ask you that. I
yeah.
mean, how, even the way you talk about it now, you really kind of, distance yourself from that persona and that experience. Do you do that consciously? Is that your
Yes.
personality, or do you think it's just a mechanism of staying sane? Because I think you see a lot of young vloggers today who maybe don't have that kind of power apart from access to an audience. Really, they go nuts.
Yeah, I think it is both really, Advaita, as you put it. It is a part of my personality. I do tend to, like, kind of distance myself also from situations and feel that everything, I've always said this and I feel this, that not everything is permanent. There are phases in life that you go through. And whenever you reach the top, the next stop is going to be on your way down. So, and whenever you are at the bottom, you always look up because that's where you're going to go next. So that has been a very important part of my life and my philosophy and my writings as well. And since as a journalist also, I feel it's very important to distance yourself from situations. This is a mistake that many journalists make. You go to cover page three parties and you start imagining yourself as a page three celebrity. You can't afford to do that. You go to cover fashion shows and you start imagining yourself as one of the divas who's attending shows, or the one of the models who's walking the ramp. Now you can't allow that kind of a thing to happen, because very soon you're going to be taken off that beat and put in something else. Look at me, look at the way I started. I started with the main newspaper with news. From there, I went on to Saturday Times, which was at that time pretty serious, but still it was all about entertainment and lifestyle. Then one day I was told, you're going to be covering fashion. And I protested. I actually protested to Mr. Dilip Padgaonkar and told him, no way, I don't know anything about fashion coverage. He said, but you know about fashion, don't you? You know how to dress up and all. And I don't want you writing, I want the designers writing. So I said, okay, fine, I'll do that, try and do that. Now, none of the designers was willing to write. They said that, darling, we'll tell you all about it, but we are not going to be writing about it. I can't write for nuts. So you learned, slowly you learned a lot about it. And then I saw their amazing weirdo lifestyles, parties they threw. And Delhi had heard nothing like this before, the kind of stuff happening. So the journalist in me obviously wanted to tell the rest of the world that this is what is happening. So I started writing about those. And that kind of caught the imagination of the public so much that we started an entire page carrying just the doings of the city, the parties. And that is how page three started, because we started this on page three of Delhi Times. And that's how page three began. So from fashion to page three, then one day I just left it all and said, no, enough of this. Now I want to write something completely different. And then I jumped into relationships. So if that's going to happen, you can't really attach yourself too much to any one thing.
I don't think anybody in your position. I know for you it was probably a very easy decision to move on, but it would be very difficult for people to change over from something that was glamorous, that was in the eye, like fashion reportage. Page three, my God, everybody wanted to be on page three
Yeah,
back in the day. So it built careers, frankly. So many
it
people
is.
became
It is.
known
Yeah.
because of page three. Otherwise, you would have never heard of them.
Yes.
And there's a good and there's a bad to that, obviously. I mean, you're
Hmm.
one of the most objective people around, so I know you know both aspects of that. So,
Well, Advaita, I make it sound like it was just my decision. I'm afraid I made it sound like that. But sometimes circumstances lead you to a stage where something within you revolts against continuing doing what you're doing in another manner, in another form. So if I'm
mm,
covering fashion shows and I cover them in a manner where I'm critiquing the shows, and I'm saying what is good and what is bad, and maybe in a few years time people start sponsoring the shows, and the sponsors don't want the negative stuff to be brought out at all,
right.
that's when I would distance myself from it and say that no way, I'm not. So times change, and with the time, you have to be quick at that. You have to either be quick enough to realize that something is changing there, move away, distance yourself, or you will be thrown out. So it's either of the two things.
Hmm.
So I mean, even from relationships, after relationships, I've been now I'm so much into the world of books as the director of the
Hmm.
Times Literature
Yes.
Festival, the Women Author Awards, and also Write India, the project we started. So it's just that maybe I get bored easily also. So I have to keep moving and keep doing something new and jumping into another arena. But it's been good. That's something that has kept me going.
And Vinita, it was also very people intensive business, right? In the beginning, with your fashion coverage, the reportage there, the page three circuit. What were they? I'm sure there were good experiences. There must have also been negative experiences. How did you handle that kind of high octane energy and the madness?
Um,
How did you
well,
not become the story? Because today we see a lot of journalists becoming the story.
Yeah, I think the trick there lay in what I said earlier, in distancing myself from the situation. And there would be many fashion designers at that time who would come across to the office and sit across from me at the table and say, "Hey, listen, you and I are great friends. We are personal friends. Forget about everything else." And I would always tell them that the day I leave this chair, and then you tell me you're a good personal friend and you remain my personal friend, I will believe you then. Right now, we are professional acquaintances and at best professional friends and nothing more than that. And I've always had this within me, that anybody who's very close to me kind of suffers from being too close, because I become very, very conscious about the kind of coverage I give to someone who's very close to me. So I don't know
Yeah.
if you know what I mean. It's just that,
Yes, yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. So you have to be very careful that you retain that image. And for me to retain my image as an objective journalist to whom a sense of integrity was very, very, has always been very, very important and uppermost. So you have to do that. You have to distance yourself from the people and from the happenings. There was were very exciting times, of course. There were amazing times, and now when I look back at them, the it was when I started covering fashion, that was the beginning of organized fashion shows and fashion in India. Before that, nothing was so structured. And so
Mm.
all the Rohit Bals and the Sunit Varmas and Ravi Bajaj and JJ Valaya, Ritu Berry, all these people were just coming up. Their very first shows were covered by me. I'd cover them. And today I feel so far away from all that, so far away. I do go to attend a show or to attend a party that they throw, and I'm almost looking at it like a dispassionate observer. When the designers come up and they say, "Oh, my first ever article was written by Vinita," it's like they're talking about another person. They're not talking about me. That's how
Mm.
it feels.
But
Feels
it's
like
also
another.
it's still a huge aspiration for a lot of young journalists, and a lot of them sort of embody that lifestyle and feel that that's the way of getting ahead, of fitting in, of being in the mix, so to speak.
Yeah.
What has been your advice to these young journalists when they come in and are with stars in their eyes, literally?
Yeah. See, one thing is, today it's very difficult to rise up as a fashion journalist in a media organization, because editors tend to keep changing the briefs that they give their people, the roles that they give them. So no one person is continuously looking after fashion. No one person, because I don't know whether it is a sense of insecurity with editors or what it is, or they are just trying to be careful that people remain objective, not to keep them too long in one sphere, give them another beat. But I've always felt that in this era of armchair journalism, what has really taken a beating is good research and talking to people about what you want to write or what you're doing, and getting different perspectives. So, sitting in your chair, you pick up the phone and you talk to anyone and you do a story, you shoot off a story. We never did that. We never did that until today. I can't accept that. I keep telling my teams, go out there, meet people. Because when you go with one perspective, you always come back with 10 other perspectives, and you never know how your story changes. That's how we used to work. When I was told to cover fashion, I didn't just jump into it. I used to be so nervous. I'll say the wrong thing. What if I say that's a slinky red beautiful outfit, and and it's actually not a slinky beautiful outfit, and the red is not really red, it's crimson or something else. So these are things I taught myself. I would buy, and in those days India didn't really have fashion coverage anywhere. So I would buy a
Mhm.
lot of these international magazines, bring them in, keep looking at them, try to pick up books on fashion.
Self-taught
Yes, absolutely.
when it came to writing
Also, but
on
also
fashion.
taught, also taught by the likes of Ritu Kumar, by Sunit Verma, who would call me across to their studios and tell me, "This is Zardozi, this is how it is done." Ritu Kumar would say, "Come and be a fly on the wall while I talk to some industrialist or somebody, some fashion personality visiting from abroad." And while they were having their conversations, I used to learn. So now, which journalist today will go to that extent
Yes.
to learn so much on fashion? So you have a background already, you're from NIFT or you studied fashion or whatever, and even then to get that objectivity, that perspective, that connect, it's
Mm.
very difficult. Times have changed completely. Today
Yeah.
it's all about just being there and covering and speaking the loudest, being the first, being out there, and whatever you cover gets immediately copied by somebody else. So it's
Also.
it's out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, the problem with having a conversation with you is that it's supposed to be about on balance, but like Kalpana said, that you don so many hats. So I'm, of course, completely distracted and onto this. And I have to tell you, Vinita, I've been doing this, I was telling you earlier, for about 8, 9 months now. And we've never had so many questions come in so fast and furious.
Wow.
And if it's okay with you, I'm going to keep asking you those questions because I think this is an opportunity for our audience to really
Sure.
get to hear from you. So here's the first one is Vinita ma'am, what's the biggest challenge that you see in the entertainment and fashion industry from the time you started?
The biggest challenge that I see. The biggest challenge, like I said, is, and not just in the entertainment and fashion industry, but everywhere. And I'm speaking only from a journalistic viewpoint because that's the prism through which I've looked at all these and covered all these. The biggest challenge I see is the quality of writing, the depth of thinking, going away, giving way to bringing out stories faster, writing them faster, not bothering too much about language, not taking that pleasure, that obsession with the written word. And that's not just a fear. I've already seen it happening, and I'm seeing it happening every day. And that is something that really saddens me. That saddens me a lot. And now, if you want me to answer just about the entertainment industry, I would say that the entrance of the PRs swooping in and picking up all these actors and stars and kind of managing them is a huge, huge negative where I'm concerned. It may be very good to market them in that manner, but today no star speaks up unless they clear it with their PR managers. They don't give an interview unless they've cleared it. They don't answer questions they don't want to answer. They don't come out and give interviews regularly, and when they feel like it, they'll only come out and be available to the public and be available to journalists when they want to promote a movie. So all
Exactly.
that fun of getting to know your star, getting to know their their highs and lows, and talking to them impromptu and listening to them, all that flavor's gone totally.
And it's also, I think a lot of them earnings do come from endorsements and things like that. So they're all about the brand, and
Yes.
being on the brand and not
Yeah.
saying too much, doing so much too much in case there are repercussions.
Yeah.
And here's one more. Deepa wants to know, would like to know that do you have to sometimes choose between your creative sensibilities and commercial decisions? How do you approach such situations? Very
Yes,
good
of
question.
course. All the time. All the time. And but my way of approaching this is that I feel in life also you have to work with what you are given, and you work within a certain perimeter, and you should know the boundaries that have been set for you or that you've set for yourself, and you've accepted them. So then when the reality strikes, you have to deal with it. So my way of doing this would be that I stand up for journalism, always do. And I would try and push in as much of good quality journalism as you can. And where uh, commercial decisions would be basically, in our case, sponsors who wouldn't want anything negative written against them. But this is something that I've fought for from the beginning, right when media organizations started uh, accepting uh, you know I have to put it in a very sensitive manner. When they when they
PR now.
yeah. So when right from the time when media organizations became sensitive to the needs of the sponsors due to commercial reasons, I have always been, and I was actually appointed as an editor of MediaNet, the MediaNet editor, but MediaNet editor not for bringing in commercial business, but MediaNet editor for ensuring that no untoward demands were made on journalists and editors. So
Oh.
that is something I clarify all the time, that if MediaNet would come to me and say, this is what we promised the client, I would always say, if you promise this to the client, then these are the things that are possible, and this is not possible. So at the end of the day, the article has to be what any good journalist would write. In certain cases, you may have to avoid writing some stuff that you would have written otherwise, but it's very clear, and it's clearly mentioned there that this is a sponsored article. Without that, we normally wouldn't.
I think there's an honesty in that, especially now when you see so much of agenda-driven journalism. There's an honesty in saying that, look, okay, this is a sponsored article, someone
Yeah,
paid for
absolutely.
this,
Yes.
and here it is.
Yeah,
Read
and
it
some
if
of
you
our
want to.
supplements also say that. Our supplements say response initiative, which
Yeah.
means that it's sponsored. And so long as you've declared that, and you're still able to give entertaining write-ups to people,
Hmm.
that's quite all right, I guess.
Yeah. Gunjan's bringing us back on track, or rather me.
Yeah.
He's saying, Vinita, about striking balance. How do you do it actually when you're passionate about your work and life both? Life here means personal achievements.
Well, I always think that work is part of life. These are not two separate things, work and life. Just as your personal life, you have your family, and at work, you have your work, whatever you're doing. And if you're really passionate about it, I know what you're trying to ask me, probably, Gunjan, is that if life pulls you in another direction from where your work is taking you, if the sense of guilt probably which a woman feels when she's leaving her child at home and going out for work, if these are the pulls and things that you're asking me about, then all I can say is that we always live with guilt. We are all the time, and particularly women live with more guilt than men ever have or ever will. And I think that guilt is a good thing. It can be a good thing. You can turn it around to a good thing by ensuring that you be in the present always. So when you're working, be right there in the present and give your all to your work. And when you are at home with your children or at home with your family, then you give your all there. In between, of course, there's you. And that is very important, to be able to focus on yourself as well, because you are neither your work nor your family. You are you. And wherever you're finding fulfillment and wherever you are involved passionately, that's where you will be able to manifest your own real self. So you need to pay attention to that also. And so long as you ensure that you're giving the best of yourself to everyone, and after that, able to pull yourself away and do your own thing as well, that's life.
But a lot of, and you may have seen this with younger female journalists joining the company and, coming to work under you. A lot of women feel the pressure now, at least this present generation, my generation to a certain extent, not so much, but I see that more with, again, the younger generation, is that you have to make a choice. So they're delaying marriage, they're delaying children, then they're getting caught up in this cycle of not having met the right person at the right time because they didn't want to commit at that point of time and wanted to
Absolutely,
focus on
yes.
themselves, or not having a child when they, are your most fertile years, and then struggling with getting pregnant. So women are kind of going through a bit of a tumultuous phase because, unfortunately, the fact of the matter is that in our society, we still think that a woman's priority should be her home and her children and her taking care of those needs first, and then anything else.
Yeah, yeah, that's true, Advaita. But what I've also seen, and of course, I don't speak for all women, but in a certain strata of society, what I've seen is that the next generation, the guys are also quite responsible and aware of the fact that they have to bring up the children along with the mother. I mean, you look at even the example that stars are setting, the way they pick up their kids. They'll be equally responsible for the duties related to the infant in our offices as well. Now, men are also asking for and getting paternity leave. So they are staying at home to look after the children. There are lots of changes. The rest, I think, we have to push through and really make happen. The point that you brought up is so true, and it is true of a generation before this generations as well as this generation. And I think it's we need to have that confidence in ourselves that if so many women before us have been able to do it, then I can do it as well. That's how women need to think, that I can balance my work and my personal life. And I think a lot of women are not getting married, not so much because they are not getting married on time, not so much because they are afraid that they won't be able to handle both, but because they are all waiting for that perfect partner to come along, and they're not sure of themselves. I have a lot of women working with me, and many of them come up to me and say, what if I get married to the wrong guy? What if I like the wrong guy and I get married? What will happen then? So I think that fear is huge. They think there's that one perfect partner, which is not true. I mean, there can't be just one perfect person for you in life. So, and they keep waiting.
But that we are going through this era of instant gratification, of perfection, of demanding it of ourselves. We must look a certain way, must present a certain lifestyle on social media, we must be doing this, we must be doing that, and that really places a lot of pressure.
Hmm. Yeah, it does. It does, because we are all, there's us, and then there's another reality. There's a parallel reality of us on social media. What you see on social media, the way you present yourselves on social media, our pictures have to be perfected and run through some software to make us look better. Our words have to be perfect when we put them up on social media. We relate to people more through social media than actually on face to face. Even and as somebody said that we have. We almost have an emotional relationship with social media and through social media with other people, rather than, and we are perfecting that art, so that puts a lot of pressure on us, because on social media you always have the perfect holiday, you always bake the perfect cake, you always eat the best stuff, you always wear the best clothes, your body is the best that it ever can be. And so that much pressure on people is so difficult to take. If you really start thinking that is the reality, then life can be really tough, can be very tough. I think you muted yourself, Advaita. I can't hear you.
Yes, I think there was this time. Of course, you did a lot of reportage of celebrities, and now even in your present role, you do watch that space. There is a hunger to be a celebrity. There's one thing about kind of being voyeuristic and being interested in their lives, which was really the case a couple of years ago or so. But today, with the explosion of social media, of the influencer culture, every second person is kind of consumed with the idea of being some sort of influencer slash celebrity. What do you think that's doing to mental health?
Absolutely, you're so right. That is, of course, obviously increasing the pressure, and the social media gives us the space to be celebrities, all of us. At
Hmm.
one time, and even in our field of writing, Advaita, at one time only authors could be authors. Only
Yeah.
people with a literature background could write. Today, engineers, bankers, business people, scientists, doctors, everybody can be an author. And some of our best authors, some of our leading authors, let's not say best authors, some of us, our best selling authors today are people who in their childhood probably wouldn't have imagined that they will write a book. The teachers couldn't have imagined, the parents couldn't have imagined, and they are best selling authors today. So when there are these options available to you, and a lot of people now want to be authors because they read their stories, the stories of these people. It's like you don't have to be a Salman Rushdie to be an author. You can be an author whoever you are. And so there are so many more people writing books, so many more people trying to get into this field and getting their own books published. Similarly, now you see that anybody can be a celebrity. Anybody, any influencer who just starts off, TikTok does that for you, Instagram does that for you, YouTube does that for you. Everywhere you just get onto that platform, you don't need any help. You don't need a page three. You have your own page threes. Today's stars don't need us journalists or media organizations to make them big. There was a time when page three, like you rightly said, made stars out of people, made fashion designers famous and made them sell much more because they were covered in the paper.
Yes.
Today they have their own, probably they have, some of the stars have many more followers than media organizations do, than our newspapers on social media do. So they become hugely influential that way. And that has really impacted their relationship, on the one hand, with media organizations and journalists like us, and on the other hand, with the public at large. Now they are directly addressing the public. There's no filter in between. They're directly talking to. So, and those people who may be able to get a response from an Amitabh Bachchan, that guy becomes a celebrity in himself. He's a star
Oh
of the
yeah.
day. Yeah. But these stars and these celebrities are, they are there just for a short while. I look at so many influencers who who are around and who are making a lot of money because of the number of followers they have. And then suddenly look at what happened with TikTok. Suddenly,
Hmm.
boom, and they all went. Where were they all? And then they have to start building. They all realize, I think, how ephemeral, how
Hmm.
short-lived this celebrity is, and because of that, they get all that more aggressive, all that more, focused on making the most
Yeah.
of little time available to them. And the same is true of stars. Look at all the ads and everything that they take upon themselves. They all realize that their life as a star, as somebody who's so popular, is short-lived, and in
Hmm.
that time they have to do the most that they can. So all that, of course, is immense pressure, and no wonder so many cases of depression, paranoia, and
Yeah.
suicidal tendencies, and unless you learn to pull away from there and be able to look at it in a balanced manner, to understand that this what is happening is just a phase, it won't last your entire life. Obviously you're going to fall into the depths of despair the moment it is taken away from you.
Very true. I mean, and what if you're a parent watching this and you have someone, a young girl, a young boy, high schooler, you know, in the throes 15, 16, 17, when you really care about what people think
Yeah.
more than you do at any other time. I think we always care, but that's phase is the beginning of it and quite intense. And they want to be on social media, they want to be recognized, they want to be acknowledged. How do you make sure that they can do that and yet not, like you said, get into some sort of depressive cycle or low self-esteem issue, or in this constant competition with each other? How do you do that?
It's very difficult, really. I mean, I can imagine what a child would feel. It happens in so many relationships that young children pick up on social media, on the net, and through your WhatsApp and stuff. And then when it breaks off, I've seen the depths of depression to which these young children fall, because their emotions, obviously they're not mature enough to be able to handle those kind of emotions. I think it is for really their parents and their teachers, and also people like us who talk on public platforms and write in newspapers and magazines, to ensure that they understand that your solid worth as a person, as a human being, will only come from the way that you evolve, the way you grow through education, through learning, through evolving as a mature person, through picking up, making the right choices, and picking up lessons from the experiences that you go through in life. That's the only way that you will actually become known and become a good person. And whether or not what people say is, I mean, the one day everybody's praising you and the next day they are just dissing you. It's impossible to handle. If you take the praise literally and seriously, then it'll be impossible to handle it when they criticize you. So you have to be able to take both sides. You have to be able to take the praise without letting it go to your head, and you have to be able to take the criticism without letting it go to your heart, because you can't allow either of that. You have to be your own self, your person. What you think of yourself, that has to be the truth. That is your truth. When you look at yourself in the mirror, the questions that you ask yourself and the answers you get, that has to be your reality. Nothing else ever can be. And I think the closest anyone comes to that is, I mean, your parents, to a great extent. If you have a good relationship with them, they are able to mirror that reality for you. Or maybe someone who really really cares about you and who grows along with you, maybe that person can mirror that reality, otherwise nobody else can.
And Arun is asking about, I think a lot of people think this. Do you think the nuclear family and the double income families has sort of left children to fend for themselves? And the other part is, of course, being single. I'm single. Is there, is society tells you that, okay, you must check all these boxes to be happy. I'm actually quite happy being single. you know but I know that there is this sort of assumption that you have to kind of check these boxes, and you've got to be part of the mix, and be out there in the world. uh, can you explain to people that happiness, fulfillment has so much more to do with just the space you're in, not who you are with, or what job you're doing, or where you live? It's really all here, no? Between right here.
Yeah. See, I feel that all of us, whether we are married or not, whether we are living with our parents or by ourselves, or whether we're living with friends or not, in a relationship or whether we are not, ultimately the biggest and only most important relationship we have to have is with ourselves. So when we are born alone and we die alone, when we are born, then the natural trajectory is that you grow older, you grow, you develop, and you become older and older. And similarly, I feel even within ourselves, as we grow older, we have to keep evolving in the same manner. Like the physical body develops, you have to develop within yourself your emotional sphere, your intellectual sphere, your spiritual sphere. All of it has to grow with you. And that and the kind of pleasure and the kind of passion that you give towards that growth and that development is what is all most important. The difference between um, being in this life and not being here is the physical body. When you're born and when you die, what you lose is the physical body. So of course needs are important. Your physical needs, your relationships are very important. We learn through relationships, we learn in life through relationships. That's the most important way of learning our lessons and moving on in life, through relationships. And relationships are not necessarily just with a husband or a spouse or a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Relationships are with your parents, your teachers, your friends, with everyone that you meet, your office colleagues, people that you may just meet in the lift while going up somewhere. Any and every kind of a relationship, with your dog, with your pet, with a relationship with just about anybody and everything that you meet and you interact with in life. And those relationships teach you your lessons as you go along in life. What is most important, like Advaita, you very rightly said, is to be in a happy space. And I think the only way to be in that happy space is if you feel that you are doing the, there's something called the purpose of your life. Why am I here? What am I doing here? So as long as you are familiar with that and you feel that the direction in which you're moving, the choices which you're making, all are leading you down the path of that purpose of your life, you will be happy no matter who is with you or isn't with you. You will be happy, you'll be satisfied. And then again, that is not a permanent a fixture. It's not like, oh, okay, fine, today I found the passion of my life, the purpose of my life, and now I'll just move around. It keeps changing. Everything keeps changing. And as things keep changing, we have to keep understanding more and more what is making us happy, what is keeping us fulfilled, and keep trying to do more of that. Feel
I think
sense?
the human soul needs nourishment, right? And the way and I think a lot of times we assume that that nourishment is going to come from other people. For example, if I look at my own life, I feel like I have this need to nurture something, right? And I think all human beings have that.
Yes.
And that nurturing may come through having a child, keeping a pet, being in a relationship, having a career, and you nurture it because that's what gives you that sort of, it
Yes.
feeds that sort of, let's just say, taste bud of your soul. Uh,
Creativity. Creativity is
Creativity, exactly,
nurturing.
is
That's
also
your brain
birthing in a way. Yeah.
interacting. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's
So,
true.
the other thing that you mentioned the word, and I really want you to talk about this is of course, partly when you have desires, then you're looking at really manifesting things and making them happen for you. And you say that you believe in the practice of manifestation, and and having aspirations can be a positive thing, can motivate you. Or in the world of social media, when you see everyone else getting the things that you want, it can plunge you into depression or anger or rage or whatever, and dissatisfaction. So, how do you go about figuring out that this is what I want from my life? Me, like me, not me as compared to XYZ, but me. This is what I want, and this is how I need to get there. And the power of manifestation, really, because it works.
Yeah, it does work. It does seem to work. I've seen it working with a lot of people. I've seen it working with myself as well. In the sense that when you want something really, really badly, you really want it, and you start imagining that you've got it, you have it, and you start working in that sphere. I think how it also works is, they say it sends out positive vibes all around, and it kind of helps change things in the universe. I don't really know about that, but I do know that. It starts making me feel better. If I start imagining, if I want something really badly and I start imagining that, okay, if I've got it, what do I do with this? And I'm not talking about material things, obviously. Then and then you start, it gives you such a positive kick that maybe you work better in that direction and you work better towards it. And possibly that's how it happens, because I do see that when you have intense passion working in your favor and directed towards an object, there seems to be some kind of an attraction there which leads you to it, which gets you that. Now, what would you aspire for, and what is beyond your limitation, and what are your limits, is again something that we all need to understand, and we only we can understand about ourselves. Like today, for instance, if I start imagining that I want to be this world's most talented star, it's not going to be possible. I know that. So I know my limitations, and if I start aspiring beyond my limitations and say, okay, let me manifest it and it'll happen, it won't. So ultimately it's like, you so you have to know your strengths, you have to know your weaknesses, and when you aspire for something, aspire for what you think you can achieve, and maybe a little bit beyond that, because sometimes we
Hmm.
underestimate ourselves, maybe a little bit beyond that. And I really believe in uh, keep shifting the milestone. So you achieve something, you want something more, something better than that, keep shifting that, and shift it as you're approaching it, not when you've achieved it. As you're
Hmm.
approaching that milestone, shift onto another one, so that when I reach here, I'll do a mini celebration, but then there's a long way to go again.
But
And that,
that's you, right? That's how you keep
yeah,
reinventing yourself. In the
yes,
time that I've known you, you've invented yourself, I think, at least two or three times, I would say.
yeah,
But
yes,
to have the energy to do that, to say that, yes, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take charge of my life, and I'm going to make it more purposeful.
yeah.
Finding purpose is very different from living a good life, or having the car, having the lifestyle, and getting on. Finding purpose is really the key, right?
Yes, absolutely. And also having immense confidence in yourself. That's very important, to have that confidence, to know that yes, I can do it and I will do it, and telling yourself that fine, if one thing is gone, let it go, there are 100 others that I can create for myself, and I can do better at that. That kind of a belief in yourself is very important. Otherwise you scatter the moment something is, and things will be taken away from you. You can't permanently be attached to anything or anyone. So
That's
if
scary,
it's,
isn't it?
yeah, so it shouldn't scatter you. You can't allow yourself to be scattered. You have to tell yourself, I'm bigger than this, I'm much bigger than that, and I know it, and I will ensure that I build something which is bigger than this and better than this. And when you have that belief and that that drive is very important, because it's not just, that drive doesn't work just for you, it works for all the people who are with you, all the
Hmm.
people who are around you. That drive reaches out from you to envelop everybody else who's with you, and it touches them all, it touches them. And one of the things that give me greatest happiness is when I meet people who worked with me, say years ago, decades ago, and they come up to me and they tell me that, I remember I used to work with you at that time, and this is the thing you said, and I followed it all my life, and it's helped me a lot. Whatever it may be, gives me a lot of happiness to know that I touched so many lives in a positive manner. And soon that starts becoming a high with you. It gives you a high. It makes you feel happy. So when
which
you
is
have,
which is what Ozone does, right? It's one of the longest running columns, I think, in the country, and it does continue to touch people's lives, and it's so powerful because we are going through a very tumultuous time with COVID, with all of us having lost someone or the other way before their time in terrible circumstances. It's also a moment for re-engineering, right? From working from within. How does one approach this?
see, you mentioned ozone. It's very interesting that when ozone started as a column, I had no idea what it's going to become. I seriously had no idea what am I going to write about. And for me, the column became some. Many people ask me, who's your guru? Do you have a guru? Do you follow a spiritual guru? And I have to say, no, I don't follow any spiritual guru. I listen to a lot of people, what they say. If something strikes me, it may strike me at one time, maybe something else said by the same man another time will not strike me. But if there's anything close to a guru, it is my column. It is my column more than anything else. It is ozone is my guru. Why? Because it forces me to think. It forces me to delve deep within me and to honestly bring out something which will appeal to a number of people, and where readers will be able to relate to it. And this happened because when I started writing this column, a lot of people, I just dug within my life experiences and the experiences of friends and people around me. Maybe Advaita, you also may have inspired some column when we used to have our chats so often. Something would come up from there, and you write a column then. And then slowly what happened is a lot of people started readers started getting back to me and asking, how did you know I was going through this? Because this is exactly the question I was asking myself, and you answered it in your column. So initially it shook me because a lot of people used to say that. And it shook
Yeah.
me, and I was like, oh God, where is this coming from? And then, you start thinking that, again, coming back to your
Happened to me as
manifestation.
well. It's happened
So,
to me as well. I don't know if you recall, it's happened to me as well. And I've messaged you or called you or something and said that, oh, I was just thinking about this.
yeah, so see, there you are.
Yeah.
A lot
Yeah.
of people. So either there's some energy in the universe when a lot of people are thinking the same thing or going through the same situation, and as a writer, you manage to tap into that. It
Mm-hmm.
has to be something like this. It can't be that I'm sitting here and I know what people are going to think about. I never take that credit for myself. So there has to be something working through me, or something that I've been managed to tap into, and that
Yeah.
gave me made me think and made me take my column much more seriously, even more seriously. So it's like a commitment, it's like a responsibility, it's like something that I'm doing for so many people out there, not for myself. And then when I write that, I think that makes me think in a manner that I guess meditation would make you do. So it's a it became a meditative experience for me. Not all my writing, but Ozone definitely became a meditative experience for me.
And we've already crossed the 50-minute mark, but it's so easy to talk to you. And so whenever Apra wants me to keep quiet, she'll pop up on screen and say, okay, let's wrap up. But,
Oh my
we
God,
all,
I'm loving it actually.
Hannah, even me too. So,
Oh
and if Vinita
God,
will ask me more questions. And
loving
Survi,
it.
thank
Yes.
you. I agree. This is really inspiring. Vinita, we all have these toxic people in our life, right?
Yes.
Friends who
Done
are
away
not
with.
happy, yeah, who don't are not happy when you're doing well, who want you to kind of be in the same person you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago. How do you manage them? Because there's a part of you that doesn't want to cut them out, but then there's a part of you that's saying, look, if I have to reinvent, if I have to evolve, I have to cut these people out and fly. So how
That's
does
that's
this
such an
work?
important that's such an important question, Advaita. And I think the pandemic has taught us, if there's anything that the pandemic has done, it's given us this this feeling that life is so short, anything can happen at any time. It's given us this fear, and it's given us the taught us the importance of living in the moment. But yes, more than living in the moment, of paying a lot of attention to the moment. And so I feel that one should not waste one's time with toxic people at all. And I feel that we should actually very consciously draw ourselves away from any people who are toxic, any kind of toxicity or any kind of negativity, because it wastes so much of our time, and it kind of seeps into our minds and hearts and spirits, and it tires you out and doesn't leave space or energy to do what you really want to do in life. And if I mean, there are people who may say, no, no, why should you draw away? Try to teach them something, and try to make them better. Try to teach them that they must be positive and they shouldn't do this. But it doesn't help. It really doesn't. Each one of us is going through our own lessons in life, and our own experiences, and we can't be always responsible for the experiences of everyone around us. So we
Yeah.
can't. And I really believe in moving away from toxicity totally.
And how do you identify a toxic individual in your life? Because a lot of times you may be with a toxic individual who happens to be a close relative or a spouse or a
I would say
partner.
the moment you
And
start feeling low spirited, and you start feeling depressed, that's what they make you feel. Good friends always make you feel happy, lighthearted, make you laugh a lot. And the ones who, the moment when you're in their company, you start feeling dull, you start feeling depressed. Obviously, those are toxic people. You can feel it, Advaita. You can, no? You do know people who just draw energy from you. There are some people, they touch your hand, you don't want it touched by them. You really don't. You just kind of, it's a feeling, just draw away. It comes instinctively, intuitively. It's very intuitive. You move away from such people, you go away with negative feelings.
the other thing that's really prevalent right now, Vinita, I can keep the questions coming with you nonstop, huh, by the way. So you'll
Mhm.
also need to tell me
That's
when to
you,
stop.
because you're engaging me in such an interesting manner. I'm loving talking to you.
But this cancel culture, right? I mean, if I had like Facebook and Twitter when I was in school and college, I think I wouldn't be able to like face the sun the next day, because we've all said stupid things, we've all done stupid things. But now it's like so vicious. You have entire careers taken away from you. You have young kids who are shamed to the extent of taking their own lives and feeling like they have no future. You have people so aggressive, so moralizing, that every small thing, you say the wrong thing or you have an off color joke and you're cancelled. That's it, you're end, finish, khatam.
Yes.
I
Mm.
mean, there used to be a time when liberal values were about believing in second chances, on people, believing in people evolving, changing, improving, in restorative interactions. But today it's like, okay, cancelled, finish, move on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really sad. I mean, I don't think I have an answer to that really. It's again, it's that toxicity that you spoke about, and people seem to have so much of it within them and so much negativity. They seem to be so passionate about bringing other people down. Rather than focusing on their lives and what they are doing, they are so focused on bringing down others. I mean, you put one negative comment, if you see one negative comment on a post, you'll see 20, 30, 40, 50 others coming in, and then you, but if you see one positive comment, it's not necessary that many others will follow. People seem to be happier. It's like that, that gossip culture where old aunts and grandmas and all would sit together and start bitching about others, and then one says something and then another. It's so sad that when you see that a large part of social media, and if that is reflective of a large part of your country, it's terrifying, it's so scary, is gives into such negativity. And I feel the best way to get out of such a situation is just to apologize quickly and get out of it. Just say, okay, sorry, I did this, or sorry, what I mean, for celebrities, I'm talking about celebrities. And but there again, like Akshay tried to apologize recently. He tried to
Yes,
apologize
yes,
and he got caught with his apology because he
yeah.
said, yeah, I would, yeah, he said, I'm sorry, I would never advertise for a cigarette. And they pulled out his red and white ads. And he says, I'm sorry, I would never do this. They pull out something else. So where does this end? I feel then ignore, just ignore and move on. But yes, if it brings you
Because we
down,
all grow, we all grow, we all change,
yeah,
we all have different experiences, and thank God for that. And Apra is back because she wants to rein
yes,
me in.
yeah,
My God, I was loving this conversation. And, with Vinita, we can go on. I've experienced it myself. And I think, Vinita, when you are talking, it is a therapy for anyone who's listening to you. it
thank you
is it
so
is
much.
so amazing, it is so amazing. And I still remember, of course, we have a little bit of Vinita in all of us. I should be
Mhm.
saying that because we've been reading that column again and again. Every time we have something or the other. And I still remember that so many years ago she had shared that, we have, all of us have that Maya within us.
Ah,
And
yes, you
we
remember that, Maya.
yes.
Yeah.
So, it is that
If
me
only
time where,
Abra had said that 5 minutes ago, I could have told you the Maya story now offline.
no,
Okay.
no,
No,
please, please, please
tell us,
do share.
please.
Yes,
Go ahead.
we all should. Yes.
No, it's okay. There are many such stories. We'll get to them another time, maybe another time. Yeah.
No,
Oh my God,
I'm up for it. If you
I'm
have to go
absolutely
before Vanita,
fine.
then
Okay. All
we
right.
can do it.
I'll very quickly tell you. Yeah, because I think everybody must be curious about it. I shouldn't leave it like that. It's just that a friend of mine, a fashion designer from Hyderabad. Um, I was talking to her one day. Like I said, a lot of stories come from friends also when they say something. And I was talking to her about the fashions she creates and stuff that she does. And she just said, that's not me, that's Maya. So I said, who's Maya? So she said, Maya is the other me. Maya is the me who is the one who would have been me if I had not been married, if I didn't have children. I allow myself to be Maya in my creativity. So my fashion sense and everything, Maya does that, not me. So I wrote a column on that, and that is what I spoke about at when Apra had invited me to talk to people in Jaipur, and at a flow conversation in Jaipur, and and I said all of us have a Maya within us. Every one of us has a Maya
What
within
else?
us, who, but for the restrictions, but for the limitations that society puts on us or we put on ourselves, she's ready to fly free. And if you let your imagination that free reign, you give your imagination that free reign, you can be anywhere in the world doing anything that you want. You can make yourself super happy just sitting here right now, thinking about something that
Yeah.
Maya wants to do or Maya does. So that's what I mean. A longer conversation, we can talk again about Maya more.
People are already saying we should have Vinita part two.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I totally,
Okay, so I'm going
Advaita.
to tell them. I would love to chat with her again. I mean, I haven't spoken to her in so long, and I feel like it's
Yes.
been the loss for me.
You and I can get together anytime. Not a problem. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so
Appa.
Well, thank you so very much, Vinita. Thank you so very much, Advaita. And as I already have shared, that Tête-à-tea is an initiative of Prabha Khetan Foundation, where we get people like Vinita who fill our hearts and our lives with positivity, and there are conversations made more interesting by none other than Advaita. You know, she always makes it a point to get somebody or the other who's so interesting. Thank you, Advaita, for giving us this platform of Kahalli. Tête-à-tea is presented by Shri Cements, and thank you to all the lovely audiences. And I really agree with Advaita. My God, the questions came from left, right, and center. So yes, so we hope to have Vinita part two with us very, very soon. Thank you once again on behalf of Prabha Khetan Foundation.
Thank you so much, Apra. Thank you very much, Advaita. Thank you,
much.
audience.